like and subscribe. Females have Reddit. What's the deal with doctors always asking when was the last time you had your period? You could literally come in the air missing an arm from a shark bite, and they'll still ask you. Your period says a lot about your health and your body. Hormonal imbalances, pregnancies, cancers, blood iron concentration at O vertical bar, and if you're pregnant you cannot have certain medication, so they have to double check, just in case. Edit. A lot of great info in comments below that people should be aware of. You also cannot have certain scans if you're pregnant. Egg cat, because the radiation can be harmful to a fetus too. In addition, women do not always know they're pregnant, which is why they might double check anyway. No contraception is 100% effective. Let us try and say women instead of females, please. I have been asked this question at the most random doctor appointments, eye doctors, physical therapy, urgent care for splinter removal. In my experience it cannot just be for pregnancy, and is likely just a check the box item, because I have very irregular cycles, so sometimes the answer is way more than 30 days ago and no one ever asks, are you pregnant DDEUREURED? It is for your safety. Doctors want to ensure you are not pregnant. This is important if they are prescribing any medications or potential medical procedures for you. In the case of being in if they have to anesthetize you for any reason, again, they need to know if you are pregnant in order to minimize any potential risk to the fetus. Mayo. Ladies, what is up with doctors always wanting to know your blood pressure and temperature and oxygen saturation levels? O vertical bar. Why would doctors ask about that? It is not like it is indicative of general health or anything. 1. It is women of Reddit, not females. 2. You. Ed Moran. Your period is a major health indicator. Well noted. A good idea to know if the patient is pregnant before prescribing a prescription or operating. Almost no medications, including over-the-counter stuff like Advil, have been shown to be 100% safe for use during pregnancy, and the first 3 months are when an embryo would be most vulnerable to any unpleasant side effects in most cases. Even in the case of a shark bite, the doctor might choose different painkillers for a potentially pregnant woman than they would otherwise, just to avoid that risk. Mayo. He said females go outside and touch some grass. Basic medical info. What's your blood pressure? How tall are you? When was your last period? All this informs your doctor about your health. It's a good bit of medical history. My last period was in October of 2015. This is obviously anomalous, so they ask questions and learn that I had a full hysterectomy due to endometriosis. It's also a good way to tease out if someone might be pregnant, even though they'll test anyway. Hell, there are times when they make me take a pregnancy test. Can people please call us women and not females? We aren't baboons. Don't call women females. We are women, not animals. They ask in case they need to give teratogenic, harmful, or potentially harmful to unborn baby medications, or if someone needs imaging such as an X-ray. No one wants to irradiate a fetus. Also, if someone complains of abdominal pain, they would like to rule out pregnancy, including ectopic pregnancy. Pregnancy, or if you're currently on your period and need a procedure, they will need to consider your hygiene products. You could always try r/ask docs to ask them why it is so common. My non-medical guess is that it is because of the differences in treatment options. If you may be pregnant or in need of medications that could cause trouble with periods, pregnancy, blood clotting, etc. Final year medical student here. It may seem silly, but it can indicate a variety of things. It can indicate things about your hormone levels, whether or not you might have fibroid or endometriosis and other conditions. Particularly in an emergency setting, if you have an absent period, it could indicate pregnancy. It might even indicate an ectopic pregnancy, which if ruptured, can be life-threatening to you. As you can see, it's thing we have to ask just to rule out looking for red flags. I have seen a particular scenario in hospital, where a woman came in complaining of stomach pain in the emergency department. 10 minutes later she was giving birth. She didn't even know she was pregnant. So these questions might seem redundant, but they do have their place. Hope this helps, and I'm happy to help if there are any more questions. Doctor here. It is actually very important in a lot of differentials. Take abdo pain for example. Cause could be surgical vs gynecological. Asking when your last period was helps. A lot of other diseases and conditions too are influenced by hormones. And finally, if there is ever a chance you are pregnant, we want to know if there are certain medications we want to prescribe. This is relevant information for a lot of reasons. As a rad tech, we like to know your last period to rule out possible pregnancy. Radiation in the first trimester can be especially damaging to the fetus. As a woman who doesn't have a regular period, every time a doctor asks me this I sweat. I never know. I should write down the dates, but I always forget. I'm too busy being happy with a 3 months period free to write down dates. Ha ha ha. Basically it's baseline info to be sure there aren't signs of a problem or potential complication related to uterus or ovaries. Many medications and treatments are unsafe for a fetus during pregnancy. So the doctor needs to exclude pregnancy, or inform the woman about those risks in the event of pregnancy. Pregnancy or missed periods are also their own risk factors. Probably to know if you're healthy. Generally, a healthy woman has a period. The cycle can also affect effectiveness of some medication, I hear. But I'm not an expert on that. I get why they ask the question, but I can never remember when it was. I always feel it coming a day ahead, so I really don't keep track, but they won't accept that answer and want me to make something up, which one feels pretty pointless / doesn't really tell you anything, and 2, my autistic brain has a hard time getting past this. The last time I was asked this, I told them I did not know, but that it was within a month. They said I had to tell them the actual date. I again repeated that I did not know, but of course they cannot accept that, so I told them I'd just make up a date for them to write down. It seems to negate the whole point when you cannot answer I do not know. I've trained years to be able to log periods, always forget, but I kept at it. It's worth it. Get one of those period apps on your phone. I started logging every first day of period solely for doctors. They don't mind waiting for me to pull out my phone and check. I think they like that it's reasonably accurate this way. Once this became a habit, and I had enough data for trends. It was actually really cool. I could plan vacations around my period, some days for margin of error. Nurse, when was your last period? Me, I don't know, probably like 4 months ago. Nurse, me, I'm on birth control, and I usually choose to skip my periods. Nurse, okay. It's a pointless exchange every single time. And sometimes not having your period can indicate an issue with your pituitary gland or your endocrine system. Our bodies are such finely tuned machines that have one thing is out of whack, it usually indicates something else is out of whack too. Of course it also means you may be pregnant. All I know is, a doctor wasted months trying to prove I was pregnant, when he could have just sent me to a gastroenterologist to figure out why I was vomiting daily. Like, how many periods do I need to chart before you actually look for the problem? P.S. When I actually was pregnant, I did not throw up a single time. Simple, they are checking that you're not pregnant, or the possibility of being pregnant, before prescribing any medication and/or treatment that could impact the pregnancy. Your period says a lot about you and your health. It's a regular function of your body, so it's similar to asking about how often you have bowel movements. Also, nothing in the body operates on its own. Everything is connected, and sometimes patients don't know what is relevant or not, so it's up to the doctor to parse that out and get seemingly random bits of information from the patient. Trust me, we are not judging you. or trying to embarrass you. I can't tell you how many patients I get who hide how much they drink, or don't tell us about their drug use, only to run into problems, like withdrawal, later. We don't call up the police if you've been doing cocaine, but we need to know, in order to tailor your medical treatment to that fact. Pregnancy is also a major consideration, as others have pointed out. If, as in your example, you get bitten by a shark, maybe you'll need an X-ray, which is harmful to a fetus. You'll probably need antibiotics, which again, will change depending on whether or not you're pregnant, as only a small percentage of medications are deemed safe for pregnant women. That awkward question, when the doctor asks you if there's any chance you could be pregnant, but yeah, I've only ever had sex with women. Yep, asked every time. One time I had an eye infection and the doctor asked me the last time I had my period, and I told him I was on birth control, and I have not gotten my period for over a year. He ran some test, comes back and says good news, you're not pregnant dash like a kii. But what about my eye? Most annoying thing ever. I had an issue about a year ago where I was throwing up at random times throughout the day, constantly felt sick and nauseated. Doctor flat out refused that it could be anything except pregnancy. Took 3 pregnancy tests despite telling the dude I had not had sex in months. Absolutely ridiculous looking back on it. After going back 4 times I had given up and practically thought that would just be the norm for me. Thankfully I went to a female doctor and they did a bacteria test for my stomach. Was sorted in about a fortnight thanks to someone using their critical thinking skills. Bloody idiots though. I came in 37 weeks pregnant with contractions and they asked me when my last period was. Because our healthcare system prioritizes the potential health of a potential fetus over the person answering the in question. I had minor surgery today, and was required to provide a urine sample for a pregnancy test despite there being a -200% chance that I was pregnant. I do not menstruate anymore. I am on continual oral birth control to control ovarian cysts, and have been for 22 years. I get lectured by random nurses that not having a period is unnatural. I am done. I'm 37 years old, I do not menstruate, I'm not pregnant. Why is this information so difficult to process? Fun question for those of us with hormonal IUDs. IDK like 8 years ago. We are called women and I've literally never been asked this question by a doctor, even when I had a chunk of my cervix cut off, and figured it might be helpful to plan it around my period. Don't know if it was just me, or because I live in the UK, but I have never been asked this. However, doctors do like to blame a lot of things on your period, when it seems to have no relevance. Took years to diagnose something as simple as anemia for me, because my fatigue and muscle aches were always blamed on my period. Not a lot you can do when doctors don't believe you. Malpractice. So many medications and procedures are dangerous for fetuses, and so they need to make sure in every way possible that women aren't pregnant. Malpractice suits in the U.S. over harm to fetuses pay out a lot of money, even if the woman swore up and down that she couldn't be pregnant at the time of intake. My mother went in for what ended up being a ruptured appendix at the age of 58, and they gave her a pregnancy test to make sure it wasn't an ectopic pregnancy. She almost died, but hey, no babies were harmed. It's a medical question, doesn't really bother me. A lot of people are saying pregnancy, and while I'm sure that's a large part of it, it's also because it acts as a type of check engine light. If anything out of the ordinary happens during your cycle, it's often an indication that something's off. If something's different, the first check is pregnancy. If it's not that, then you start looking into other factors like diet, exercise,